1. Kuchisake-onna, Slit-Mouthed Woman. A vengeful spirit with a disfigured face who asks potential victims if they think she is beautiful. Their answer determines their fate. The story of Kuchisake-onna dates back to the Heian period, 794-1185, a time when Japan was ruled by emperors and aristocrats, and the capital was set in Kyoto. It is said that Kuchisake-onna was once a beautiful woman, the wife or concubine of a samurai. She was known for her striking beauty and was often the subject of admiration. However, her beauty became her curse. According to the legend, she was vain and self-obsessed, constantly seeking the attention and validation of others. Her vanity eventually led her to commit adultery, betraying her husband, the samurai. When he discovered her infidelity, he was consumed with rage and jealousy. In a fit of anger, he took his sword and slashed her mouth from ear to ear, creating a horrific wound. As he did so, he is said to have uttered, "Who will think you're beautiful now?" The woman was left to die, her face forever disfigured, her beauty cruelly taken from her. Her spirit, filled with anger, resentment, and sorrow, is said to have lingered, unable to find peace. This tragic tale marks the origin of Kuchisake-onna, setting the stage for her transformation into a vengeful spirit. As the years passed, the story of Kuchisake-onna transformed from a tragic tale of betrayal to a terrifying urban legend. It is believed that her restless spirit began to wander the streets of Japan, seeking revenge and spreading fear among the living. Her spirit, unable to move on due to the violent manner of her death, became a yokai, a type of supernatural entity or ghost in Japanese folklore. Kuchisake-onna is often depicted wearing a surgical mask or cloth covering her disfigured mouth, a common sight in Japan, especially during cold and flu season. She is said to approach her victims, usually at night, asking them a simple yet terrifying question, "Watashi kirai?" or "Am I beautiful?" If the person responds, yes, she removes the mask, revealing her grotesque wound, and asks, "Kore demo?" or "Even now?" At this point, the legend diverges into different variations. If the person says, no, she kills them on the spot with a pair of scissors or a knife. If they say, yes, she still kills them by slashing their mouth to mimic her own disfigurement, ensuring they suffer the same fate. There have been numerous reports of encounters with Kuchisake-onna, particularly during the 1970s when the legend saw a resurgence in popularity. One of the most infamous incidents occurred in 1979 in Nagasaki Prefecture, where a woman with a slit mouth was reportedly seen chasing children. This sighting caused widespread panic, leading to a nationwide scare. Schools closed early, parents escorted their children home, and the police increased patrols, though no concrete evidence of her existence was ever found. Another encounter that fueled the legend occurred in the early 2000s, when reports of a woman fitting Kuchisake-onna's description surfaced once again. Witnesses described seeing a woman with long black hair, wearing a trench coat, and a surgical mask, lurking in the shadows. Although these reports could be attributed to mass hysteria or even pranks, the fear they instilled was very real. Over time, various rumors and speculations have emerged regarding Kuchisake-onna. Some say that she can be appeased or tricked if you answer her question in a specific way. For example, responding with, "You are average," or "SOSO," might confuse her, giving you a chance to escape. Another rumored tactic is to throw money or hard candies at her, as she is said to be easily distracted by material items. There are also regional variations of the legend. In some versions, Kuchisake-onna is said to be the vengeful spirit of a woman who was disfigured in a car accident, or a victim of medical malpractice. These variations highlight how the legend has adapted to different times and places, maintaining its relevance in contemporary Japanese culture. 2. Teek-teek. The ghost of a woman who was cut in half by a train and now crawls around with her upper torso, dragging a sharp scythe or blade. The legend of Teek-teek originates in Japan, a land steeped in folklore and ghost stories that have been passed down through generations. The origins of this story are shrouded in mystery, with different versions emerging over time, but the most popular version involves a young woman who met a tragic and gruesome fate. It is said that this woman, in the prime of her youth, was walking near a railway track late one night. There are varying accounts of what led her to this fateful location. Some say she was fleeing from an attacker, others believe she was simply at the wrong place at the wrong time. Whatever the reason, tragedy struck when she fell onto the tracks just as a train was approaching. The train severed her body at the waist, leaving her to die in agony. This brutal death gave birth to the vengeful spirit known as Tik-Tik. The name, Tik-Tik, is derived from the sound she is said to make as she drags herself along the ground using her hands and elbows, the only parts of her body that remain. The sound is haunting, tik-tik-tik, as her torso scrapes across the ground in pursuit of her victims. After her death, sightings of Tik-Tik began to emerge. According to the legend, she haunts the areas near railways, bridges, and even deserted roads, searching for unsuspecting souls to claim. Her anger is palpable, driven by the injustice of her death and the pain of her existence as a spirit eternally trapped in a half-body. Encounters with Tik-Tik are said to be swift and deadly. Witnesses claim that she appears suddenly, often at night, emerging from the shadows or from behind obstacles. Her appearance is horrifying, her body is mutilated, and her face is contorted with rage and pain. She moves with unnatural speed, faster than a human can run, despite having no legs. Once she spots her victim, escape is almost impossible. Tik-Tik will chase down her target, and when she catches them, she uses a scythe or a sharp object to cut them in half, mimicking the way she was killed. One of the most chilling aspects of this legend is the claim that if you hear the story of Tik-Tik, she may appear to you within a few days. This part of the legend adds a psychological element, leaving those who hear the tale with a lingering sense of dread. There are many stories of people encountering Tik-Tik, each one more terrifying than the last. One popular account involves a schoolboy who encountered the spirit on his way home. He heard the eerie, tik-tik sound behind him and turned to see the disfigured ghost chasing him. The boy ran as fast as he could, but Tik-Tik was faster. He was found later, his body severed in half, just like the spirit's own mutilated form. Another version of the legend tells of a young woman who encountered Tik-Tik late at night. She was crossing a bridge when she heard the sound. Paralyzed with fear, she turned to see the ghostly figure moving toward her at an alarming speed. Unable to escape, the woman met the same fate as many before her. There are even rumors that Tik-Tik's story is based on real events, though this has never been confirmed. Some say that the story is a cautionary tale, warning people, especially women, about the dangers of walking alone at night. Others believe that it serves as a reminder of the harshness of life and the brutal nature of death. In Japanese culture, ghost stories like Tik-Tik often reflect deeper societal fears and anxieties. The spirit's gruesome fate may symbolize feelings of helplessness or the fear of tragic accidents, common in urban environments where technology and danger coexist. 3. Akamanto, Red Cloak. A spirit that haunts public restrooms, offering victims a choice between red or blue paper. Choosing either option leads to a gruesome death. The origins of Akamanto are somewhat obscure, with its roots likely lying in Japan's post-war period. During this time, there was a rise in the construction of modern school buildings, and with them, the advent of multi-stall public restrooms. These restrooms, often located in the older, less trafficked parts of the school, became the perfect setting for ghost stories and urban legends. It's believed that the Akamanto legend emerged as a cautionary tale to keep children from wandering into these isolated, often poorly lit areas alone. The exact identity of Akamanto before it became a spirit is a matter of speculation. Some say it was a handsome man who was constantly pursued by admirers, so much so that he wore a mask to conceal his face. Others suggest he was a victim of bullying or harassment, someone who met a tragic end and now seeks to enact his vengeance on the living. Once the legend of Akamanto took hold, it became a fixture in Japanese folklore. The story evolved to describe a spirit that haunts restrooms, particularly those on the farthest ends of school hallways. The spirit is said to appear when someone is using the last stall in the bathroom, typically the one closest to the wall. Akamanto manifests when a person is most vulnerable, often just after they've finished their business and are about to leave the stall. It's said that a voice will ask the person, "Do you want red paper or blue paper?" This question, simple as it may seem, holds deadly consequences. Over the years, there have been numerous accounts of encounters with Akamanto, though it's important to remember that these are anecdotal and often perpetuated through word of mouth rather than documented evidence. One common version of the encounter goes as follows: a student, often staying late at school, needs to use the restroom. As they enter the last stall, they're suddenly overwhelmed by a sense of unease. Just as they're about to leave, a disembodied voice asks them the dreaded question. If they choose the red paper, the legend says they will be violently slashed, their body drenched in blood, mimicking the appearance of wearing a red cloak. If they choose the blue paper, they'll be strangled until their face turns blue, suffocated to death. Some versions of the tale offer a third option, where the spirit asks if they want a different color, like yellow. This, too, comes with its own gruesome end, usually involving being drowned in a toilet or subjected to another horrific fate. The only way to survive an encounter with Akamanto is to reject the choices, saying you don't need any paper, or sometimes, opting for a neutral option like white, though even this is not a guaranteed escape. AKA Manto's story has evolved and spread, with different regions of Japan adding their own twists and variations. Some say that the spirit wears a flowing red cloak, while others describe him as wearing a red mask, or even having red eyes that burn through the darkness. The restrooms he haunts are often depicted as old, rarely used, and typically in the least maintained part of a school or public building. In recent years, the legend has even crossed into popular culture, appearing in manga, anime, and films, often as a metaphor for the dangers of making the wrong choices or being too curious. Interestingly, Akamanto is not the only restroom ghost in Japan. He belongs to a larger genre of Japanese urban legends that involve supernatural occurrences in bathrooms. These include stories like Hanako-san, the spirit of a young girl who haunts school toilets, and Kashima Reiko, a vengeful spirit with a gruesome backstory. Despite the variations and the embellishments added over the years, the core of AKA Manto's legend remains the same, a terrifying presence that forces individuals into a deadly decision. 4. Hanako-san. The ghost of a young girl who haunts school bathrooms, particularly the third stall in the third-floor restroom. The legend of Hanako-san is believed to have originated in the mid-20th century, around the 1950s. During this period, Japan was undergoing rapid modernization, and many old beliefs and superstitions began to mix with the new, creating a fertile ground for urban legends to flourish. However, the specific origins of Hanako-san are unclear, with various stories suggesting different beginnings. One popular version of the legend suggests that Hanako-san was a young girl who lived during World War II. According to this version, Hanako was playing hide-and-seek with her classmates when she hid in the third stall of the school bathroom. Unfortunately, at that very moment, an air raid struck the school, and Hanako was killed, leaving her spirit trapped in the bathroom stall where she had hidden. This tragic tale has been passed down from one generation to the next, with each telling adding new layers of detail and fear to the story. Another version of the story suggests that Hanako-san was the victim of bullying or abuse, and she took refuge in the bathroom to escape her tormentors. In this telling, Hanako's life ended in the bathroom, whether by her own hand or due to an unfortunate accident, leaving her spirit to haunt the very place where she sought solace. This version of the story reflects the anxieties and fears of many children who struggle with the pressures of school life, making Hanako-san a symbol of those unspoken fears. Once the legend of Hanako-san took hold, it quickly spread across Japan, becoming a staple of schoolyard folklore. The story became so well known that it even inspired variations in different regions, with each school adding its own twist to the tale. Some schools claimed that Hanako-san could be found in the third stall of the third-floor bathroom, while others insisted she only appeared in old, abandoned school buildings. As the legend grew, so did the details surrounding Hanako-san's appearance and behavior. Descriptions of Hanako-san often portray her as a small girl with bobbed hair and wearing an old-fashioned red skirt or dress. She is said to inhabit the third stall of the girls' bathroom, and anyone who dares to knock 3 times on the stall door and ask, "Are you there, Hanako-san?" might hear a faint voice reply, "Yes, I am." If you choose to enter the stall, it is said that you will see Hanako-san herself, and depending on the version of the story, she may either drag you into the toilet or simply disappear, leaving you terrified. The fears surrounding Hanako-san became so intense that many schools began to take precautions. Some schools would avoid using the third stall altogether, while others would perform rituals or prayers to appease Hanako-san's spirit. The story also inspired numerous ghost stories and horror films in Japan, further cementing Hanako-san's place in Japanese pop culture. Over the years, there have been many reported encounters with Hanako-san, each one adding to the mystery and fear that surrounds her. Students have reported hearing strange noises coming from the bathroom, such as soft footsteps or the sound of someone crying. Others have claimed to see the stall door slowly creak open on its own or to feel an inexplicable cold breeze pass by them when they are alone in the bathroom. One of the most famous incidents occurred in the 1990s when a group of students in a rural Japanese school decided to test the legend of Hanako-san for themselves. They gathered outside the third stall of the girls' bathroom and knocked 3 times on the door, asking, "Are you there, Hanako-san?" To their shock, they heard a faint voice reply, "Yes, I am." Panicked, the students ran out of the bathroom, but the experience left them shaken and convinced that the legend was real. Another encounter that has been widely reported involves a teacher who, after hearing the students talk about Hanako-san, decided to investigate the bathroom herself. She knocked on the door of the third stall and was startled when the door opened slightly, revealing what appeared to be a small, pale hand reaching out from the darkness. The teacher fled the bathroom and refused to discuss the incident further, leaving students to speculate on what she had seen. There are also rumors that some students who have encountered Hanako-san have disappeared without a trace, though these stories are often dismissed as exaggerations or attempts to scare younger students. Like many urban legends, the story of Hanako-san has evolved over time, with different regions and schools creating their own versions of the tale. In some versions, Hanako-san is said to grant wishes or offer advice to those who dare to summon her, though the wishes often come with a price or a twist. In others, she is a more malevolent spirit, seeking revenge on those who wronged her in life or anyone who dares to disturb her resting place. One particularly eerie variation of the legend suggests that Hanako-san is not alone. According to this version, she is accompanied by 2 other spirits, who are even more dangerous. If you encounter Hanako-san and try to escape, these other spirits will chase you down and drag you back to the bathroom. This version of the story adds an extra layer of fear to an already terrifying legend. There are also regional variations of Hanako-san, with some areas of Japan giving her a different backstory or a different appearance. In some places, she is known as Hanako of the Toilet or Towar no Hanako-san, while in others, she is simply called Hanako. Despite these variations, the core elements of the legend remain the same, and the fear that she inspires continues to resonate with students across Japan. 5. Gashidakuro. A giant skeletal monster made from the bones of people who died of starvation, said to roam the night looking for victims to crush and drink their blood. The origins of the Gashidakuro are deeply rooted in the tragic aspects of Japanese history. According to legend, these giant skeletons are born from the restless spirits of those who have died in the throes of starvation or in battle, without proper burials. During periods of famine or war, when large numbers of people perished, the corpses were often left unburied, causing their spirits to become enraged. These angry spirits would coalesce into a single, massive skeleton, the Gashidakuro. The Gashidakuro is a symbol of the despair and suffering experienced by these souls, who are driven to roam the earth, unable to find peace. The lack of a proper burial, combined with the violent nature of their deaths, is believed to be the reason why these spirits transform into such a monstrous form. Over time, the story of the Gashidakuro evolved from a simple cautionary tale about the consequences of improper burials and the horrors of war, to a more haunting and supernatural legend. The Gashidakuro became not just a representation of the restless dead, but a menacing figure that actively sought out the living to consume. The transformation into a haunted legend likely occurred as stories of the Gashidakuro were passed down through generations, becoming more embellished and terrifying with each retelling. In a society where ancestor worship and the proper treatment of the dead were paramount, the Gashidakuro served as a stark reminder of what could happen if these cultural practices were not observed. The Gashidakuro is said to appear in areas where many people have died, especially those who suffered from starvation or died in battle. These sightings are often reported in the darkest hours of the night, between midnight and 2 a.m., when the spirit is believed to be at its most powerful. One of the most famous encounters with the Gashidakuro comes from the tale of Taira no Masakado, a famous samurai and warlord from the Heian period. After his death, it is said that his decapitated head was transformed into a Gashidakuro, seeking revenge on those who had wronged him. The giant skeleton roamed the land, attacking villages and devouring anyone who crossed its path. In more modern times, there have been reports of eerie, bone-rattling sounds heard in the countryside, often attributed to the Gashidakuro. These sounds are said to be a warning to those who hear them, signaling the approach of the giant skeleton. Those who are unfortunate enough to encounter the Gashidakuro are often met with a gruesome fate, as the creature is said to grab its victims and crush them with its enormous hands before devouring them. The Gashidakuro is surrounded by a number of rumors and variations in its story. Some say that the Gashidakuro is invisible to the naked eye and can only be detected by the sound of ringing in the ears, a warning that the creature is near. This eerie ringing, known as can-can, is the only chance one has to escape the Gashidakuro's grasp. Another rumor suggests that the Gashidakuro is nearly invincible, as it is made up of the bones of multiple people, and its collective spirit is far stronger than that of an ordinary ghost. The only way to appease the Gashidakuro is to offer it a proper burial or to perform rituals that will lay the spirits to rest. In some versions of the legend, the Gashidakuro is depicted as having the ability to regenerate, making it even more fearsome. Even if one manages to destroy the skeleton, it is said that the bones will simply reassemble, and the Gashidakuro will rise again to continue its haunting. 6. Jinmenken, human-faced dog. A creature that appears as a dog with a human face, often seen running alongside cars at night. The concept of animals with human features is not entirely new in Japanese folklore. Stories of such creatures can be found in ancient texts, where they were often seen as omens or messengers from the spirit world. The Jinmenken, however, seems to be a more modern manifestation of this theme. During the Edo period, strange occurrences and sightings of unusual animals were sometimes reported, leading to the belief that these animals were cursed or possessed by spirits. The Jinmenken may have originated from these stories, evolving over time into the creature we know today. Some speculate that the Jinmenken legend may have been inspired by the Japanese fascination with the grotesque and the bizarre, a cultural trend that can be seen in art and literature from the Edo period. This fascination often blended reality with fantasy, leading to the creation of stories that blurred the lines between the two. As the Jinmenkan legend grew, it began to take on more supernatural elements. The creature was no longer just an oddity or a curiosity but something more sinister and haunting. Reports of encounters with the Jinmenkan started to emerge in the late 20th century, particularly in urban areas. These encounters often followed a similar pattern. A person would be walking alone at night when they would suddenly come across a dog with a disturbingly human-like face. What made these encounters even more chilling was the fact that the Jinmenkan was said to be able to speak. Witnesses claimed that the creature would either plead to be left alone or would utter cryptic and unsettling phrases. This ability to speak, combined with its human-like face, gave the Jinmenkan an almost ghostly presence, making it seem like a tortured soul trapped in a dog's body. One of the most famous Jinmenkan encounters reportedly took place in the 1980s, when a taxi driver in Tokyo claimed to have seen the creature late at night. According to the driver, he was driving through a deserted part of the city when he saw what he thought was a stray dog. As he got closer, he realized that the dog had the face of a human. The creature looked at him and muttered something unintelligible before disappearing into the shadows. The driver was so shaken by the experience that he reportedly quit his job shortly after. Other stories involve people hearing strange noises at night, only to find a Jinmenkan lurking in the darkness. Some have even reported seeing the creature in their dreams, where it communicates with them through a series of strange and disturbing images. These encounters are often accompanied by a sense of overwhelming dread, as if the Jinmenkan is a harbinger of some impending doom. There are many theories about what the Jinmenkan could be, ranging from the supernatural to the scientific. Some believe that the creature is the result of a curse or a spirit possessing a dog. Others think that the Jinmenkan is a type of yokai, a class of supernatural beings in Japanese folklore known for their strange and often malevolent nature. On the more scientific side, some skeptics have suggested that the Jinmenkan could be a case of pareidolia, a psychological phenomenon where people see human faces in inanimate objects or animals. This explanation suggests that the sightings of the Jinmenkan are simply a trick of the mind, influenced by the darkness and the eerie atmosphere of the night. Another theory posits that the Jinmenkan could be an undiscovered species or a mutated animal. There are reports of animals with deformities that resemble human features, and some believe that the Jinmenkan could be one such creature. However, this theory has never been substantiated, and the lack of physical evidence makes it difficult to prove. 7. Tomino's Hell. A cursed poem that is said to bring death or misfortune to anyone who reads it aloud. The poem, Tomino's Hell, was written by Seijo Yeso, a Japanese poet, in his 1919 collection titled Sakin. The poem itself is an unsettling narrative about a young boy named Tomino, who seems to be experiencing some form of punishment or torment. The imagery in the poem is disturbing, filled with pain and suffering, and has left many readers with an uneasy feeling. The exact inspiration for the poem remains a mystery. Some speculate that it reflects the horrors of war or personal tragedy, while others believe it to be a purely fictional creation meant to evoke fear and discomfort. Regardless of its origin, the poem quickly became notorious for the alleged curse it carries. The legend of Tomino's Hell is simple but terrifying. Anyone who reads the poem aloud will suffer misfortune or even death. This curse is said to be so potent that it has claimed the lives of several people, leading to the poem being feared and avoided by many. The curse supposedly affects those who read the poem aloud, causing a series of unfortunate events ranging from minor accidents to severe illnesses or even death. Some stories claim that those who recite the poem aloud are haunted by visions or plagued by nightmares, unable to escape the dark imagery the poem conjures. Before the legend of the curse took hold, Tomino's Hell was simply a poem published in a collection of works by Seijo Yeso. The collection, titled Sakin, was not particularly well known or widely read, and the poem itself did not attract much attention. It wasn't until years later, with the rise of the internet and the spread of urban legends, that the curse began to take on a life of its own. During this pre-haunting period, the poem was likely read by a small audience, most of whom would have been unaware of any supposed curse. The haunting aspect of Tomino's Hell appears to be a relatively modern development, likely fueled by the growing popularity of Japanese horror and the internet's ability to spread stories quickly. The real fear surrounding Tomino's Hell began when rumors of the curse started to circulate. Some believe that the curse first came to light in the late 20th century, when reports of strange incidents began to surface. These incidents were often attributed to the poem's curse, and as the story spread, so did the fear of reading it aloud. As the legend grew, more and more people began to believe in the curse, and Tomino's Hell gained notoriety as one of Japan's most feared urban legends. The poem became a test of bravery for those who dared to read it aloud, with many opting to avoid it entirely out of fear of the curse. There are numerous stories of people who claim to have suffered after reading Tomino's Hell aloud. These incidents range from minor misfortunes, such as tripping or losing something valuable, to more severe consequences, like being involved in car accidents or experiencing sudden illnesses. One of the most well-known incidents involves a Japanese TV show that reportedly featured the poem. According to the story, several crew members fell ill or experienced accidents shortly after the show aired. Some even claim that a few of the crew members died under mysterious circumstances, leading many to believe that the curse was real. In another case, a young woman is said to have read the poem aloud as part of a dare. Shortly afterward, she reportedly suffered from a series of tragic events, including the sudden death of a close family member. These stories, while difficult to verify, have only added to the poem's terrifying reputation. The curse of Tomino's Hell has given rise to many rumors and speculations over the years. Some believe that the poem was cursed by its author, Seijo Yeso, who may have dabbled in dark arts or had some connection to the supernatural. Others think that the poem was written with the intention of cursing anyone who read it aloud, as a form of revenge or punishment. There are also those who believe that the curse is a manifestation of the collective fear and belief in its power. In other words, the curse only affects those who believe in it, and the fear it generates is what causes the misfortune. Some skeptics argue that the curse is nothing more than a coincidence, and that the poem's dark content simply makes people more likely to notice and remember unfortunate events that occur after reading it. This theory suggests that the curse is self-fulfilling, with the fear of the curse leading to anxiety and stress, which in turn makes people more prone to accidents and illness.